Don Global presents the DG Recruit podcast on everything headhunting and recruitment. Achieve the life and career you envision. What's up, game changers? It's your host, Don, founder of Don Global, the headhunting and career coaching company helping you achieve the life and career you envision. In today's DG Recruit episode, we'll cover what are the prerequisites to becoming a headhunter. I got this great question from somebody who messaged me the other day, and I thought it was absolutely something I haven't addressed yet and would love to talk a little bit more expansively today about. So the number one thing I would say to start out with in terms of a prerequisite to become a successful headhunter is your drive and your why for making money. And I know this is probably not what you expected to hear. Maybe it was, but let me explain something to you. Headhunting is a career all centered around making money. It is a sales job. It is 100% money driven. In fact, any sales job is. The reason is because sales jobs are incredibly hard. If everyone could make six figures, don't you think everyone would make six figures? There's a reason why salespeople, the best of them, make high into the six figures. And it's because it's a tough job to do well. It's a tough job to sustain within. So if you don't have a strong why, and most of that is monetary, you cannot last, right? So most people who I see come into the headhunting office and my old employer work with us, they will rock in with nice clothes, nice watches, nice luxury goods. Those people very, very, very rarely made it in our career. And that's because there's no why. When you're walking into the room with a Chanel watch on your wrist, you're not going to bust your butt working. You're not going to bust your butt working at our job. You're not going to try really hard to succeed because you don't need to. So the number one is that you're sick of making crap money and you want to make some serious money in your lifetime. That's the only reason why anyone would be crazy enough to bank on a career in sales. So for myself, it was very much money driven. I didn't want to be tied to my parents. And even though I wasn't really, poor at the time, I certainly grew up in an impoverished environment. My family had no money when they moved to the U.S. as immigrants. I myself ate free lunch growing up because we were part of the subsidy system, right? So I grew up wearing hand-me-downs and church-donated clothing. I didn't have any gifts or luxury items or branded items even. We wore clothes that we brought from China for most of my childhood. So I grew up in a very poor environment where mentally we were not poor. My family was very well educated and very much filled with drive and ambition. So mentally we were not poor, but financially, yes, we were absolutely poor. And that's why I saw in myself a need to have a successful life. Not to mention my parents were extremely controlling and I no longer wanted to be under their rule. So as I got older, that became freedom. Freedom is money. Without money, there is no freedom. So for me, money is synonymous with freedom and success and wealthy life. And that's the only reason why you would get into sales. So if you're really, really rich and your parents have a trust fund ready for you, would you really bust your butt to become a salesperson? Maybe if you don't want to rely on your parents' trust fund. But other than that, yeah, you wouldn't go into sales, right? Life is too good with or without money, so you don't really need it. Those people very rarely will make it in this industry. So number one is a strong why. And that why centers around the drive for money. All right, number two, people skills. That's a prerequisite for sure. If you want to get into headhunting and you hate people, I mean, you hate them. You really, really dislike people and you get frustrated and annoyed and super, super pissed off when you have to deal with people and you really can't give a crap about people, don't get into sales, right? Now, what I don't mention is a personality type. We don't need extroverts. Salespeople are not all extroverts. In fact, some of the most successful salespeople are not extroverts. They're introverted if you were to look at them on the personality spectrum. So that's another huge misconception when it comes to sales success. We do not need a room full of me's. That is not good. You need diversity in your sales force. Not everybody needs to be an extrovert. Now, do you have to have confidence and stand up for what you believe in and be able to articulate things? Sure. Yes, absolutely. But that's also somebody who is an introvert. They can do that very well as well. So people skills, again, doesn't matter if you're introvert or extrovert, as long as you got them, you know how to empathize, you know how to listen, you know how to ask questions and be a normal human being who's not weird and dislikable the minute you pick up a phone, then you'll probably do just fine. Number 3, organizational multitasking skills. Very important. When you're running a desk doing recruitment, life is not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be making recruitment money, right? Recruitment has no barriers to entry, yet we have really crappy people within our industry. Why is that? The majority of people don't have all the prereqs that I'm talking about right now, one of them being organizational, multitasking, logical skills. Many people, just because they think they're extroverts and they can blah, 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 doesn't mean you're going to be a great salesperson, because you need to be organized. You need to have a system. You need to be also able to manage yourself. Sales is a lot about the process, and it's a science. It's not just because you're likable, stuff starts happening for you. That's definitely a big part of it, but you still need a system, and a system needs organization, and you have to be able to stick to organization. So if you're not someone who likes to be organized and likes to somehow manage things, you better start working with someone who is, or you better start learning those organizational skills, because you cannot function with a high degree of disorganization when you're trying to run a multi, $100,000 or $1 million desk even, right? You need to be somewhat organized. So that's a skill that you might want to invest in. Number 4, stress tolerance, ability to work long hours. This is crucial. In recruitment, especially as you start off, you will need to train. You will need to train very hard under your mentor, under your manager, under whoever it is. And if you cannot take the heat in the kitchen, you will not make it. You will be one of the probably 80% of people that flunk out within year 1. You'll also be one of the 99% of people, I'm sure, that flunk out within 5 years. All right. So it's very hard to succeed in this business if you can't tolerate stress. You have to be able to compartmentalize, because when clients call you pissed off and you have a very negative call, or a candidate calls you irate and you have a terrible call, guess what you have to do after that call? You have to get back to work and make another call. So if you do not have perseverance, you do not have stress tolerance, you should not be doing this job. If you have high anxiety issues, social anxiety, issues where you're paralyzed, it's going to be very hard for you to do well at this job. So you know yourself. Know if you have the mental capacity to handle the stress that comes with the job. Now, can that be taught? 100%. Can you grow to be able to tolerate more stress? Absolutely. Me today is someone very different than me at 23 when I first started in the business. So there's absolutely a journey, but you must have the confidence that you can and you will and you want to invest in doing that, which hinges onto my 5th point, which is you have to possess the ability and the want to learn and to improve. If you're in the business of sales, we do not want people who want to collect a paycheck and go home. Those people do not make it in sales. Those people might make it in an administrative task job-based role, but they will not make it in a people business, because for you to continually be better, you must continually want to learn and do better and implement new learns. So the journey of learning will never stop, especially if you're a top recruiter, a top salesperson. You will always, and you should always, look for ways to do your job better and to be better at your job. Number 6, you must be able to live in big cities. The reason being, most recruitment companies, the best ones, the ones that are legitimate, the ones that will show you how to do this business correctly, they are in major metropolitan cities. So I see a lot of candidates that we work with in my recruitment agency. As many of you may know, my company, DG Recruit, the company that's sponsoring this podcast, my company works specifically with headhunters around the nation. And boy, oh boy, do I get to talk to so many people who started their careers at crappy, yes, I said crappy, terrible recruitment firms. I mean, I kiss the ground, I bless the world that I was lucky enough to move to a major metropolitan city, New York, and work under one of the best leadership teams, best management teams there are around in this business. So I was incredibly lucky that I fell into that setup. Many people, for whatever reason, decide that they can't move. They got to stay where they are. are. And for those reasons, if you are trying to start your career in recruitment and you live in a third tier, second tier city where there aren't a lot of great recruitment leaders, then you're stuck with what you got, right? How can you be a great salesperson when you have crappy mentors who themselves aren't even doing well and their business income is not very inspiring? It'll be very hard to get good at recruitment if that's the type of leadership you're working with. So I see that all the time. We talk to people all over the country who live in areas where it's not populated by the best recruitment leadership. So unfortunately, you start your career in a bad place. And that's why the ability to live in big cities, now the biggest cities in recruitment, what are they right now? New York, Austin, Houston, LA, San Francisco, pretty much all the major cities in Texas, actually. Little tiny centers in Florida, but mostly your New York, your Boston. Those are your gung-ho, 100%. You can do well. Chicago to a certain degree. Denver specifically at a few firms. But yeah, those are the major cities. Anywhere out of there, maybe, I don't even know of any great ones in Portland or Seattle yet. I just don't know of them. The best recruitment agencies that we know of right now are in these major cities. And the ones that are in like Minnesota, the satellite offices, that's not where the core team is sitting. So again, the core teams are going to be your New Yorks, your San Franciscos, your LAs, your Houstons, your maybe Dallas, Austin to a certain degree, maybe some smaller cities like Denver, like Florida, like Miami potentially, right? So but again, the major ones, the number ones are always New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, and that is very, very true. Anyways, the next one, let's see. Number 7, ability to take a lower base to start. Absolutely. Recruitment is a sales job. We are not going to give you, bam, 100K grand just like that. That's not happening. You got to earn your seat at the table. So you got to start off with a lower base. When I was 23, my base was 35,000. Yes, sirree. And that was New York City. So you got to be able to tolerate a lower base. And that's why so many recruiters are young. They're coming straight from college. Now, if you're someone who's 45 years old with a whole family and you're accustomed to making 90 grand doing a technical role and now you want to be a recruiter, unless you have exceptional personality skills and you're in the perfect geographic area and you're also recruiting for the same exact industry that you're already a professional expert at, it's very unlikely that you will get that same salary. Again, starting bases for a junior level recruiter is anywhere from 20,000 on base at the very, 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 disgusting lowest end. We have very few clients that do that. But most companies are around sort of 35. In second, third tier cities, same thing, 35 or 30. But in major metropolitan areas, again, you're looking at 35 to maybe even 45, 50 on base, right? That's the range of bases. Now, if you have a higher base, it's very likely that your commission schedule will not be as good. And that is not a good thing because commission is where the fun starts. If you take a super high base and you're only earning a few $100s per placement, you've got yourself a very nasty little situation. You want to be having a decent base. You don't need too much. My advice is look at your budget, reduce your cost of living. Any human being in the world should be able to survive on a budget sort of anywhere from 50 to 60K, especially if you're single. There is no way why you should be living a ridiculous life beyond that, right? There are cheap alternatives anywhere you live. I don't care what you say. People are like, oh, in New York, things are expensive. My rent has to be $1,000 plus. That is not true. You can live with roommates in a crappier part of town or a further out part of town and make it. And that's part of the journey. You've got to be able to decrease your cost of living for the long-term gain of what it is in recruitment. If you're 2 and 3, you can be making 6 figures guaranteed, then what do you think? Should you make the sacrifice? I say absolutely. So again, you have to be able to take a lower base. For some people, that's why recruitment is not a reality. For many people, recruitment cannot happen for you because no one's going to invest in you if your buy-in price is 100K when I can go out and hire 2 college grads who I can train and they will listen to my every word and bank their career on me, which versus you're a flight risk. If I give you 90K on base and if you don't like it, you can use my offer and my job to go and negotiate a better offer somewhere else through internal recruitment or another type of job related to recruitment. So again, your ability to take a low base is crucial for this to work. Number 8, self-belief. Self-belief is the ultimate tie-in. It's the mindset. It's everything. Without self-belief,
you can't succeed in anything you do. And that is true, I think, cross-sector, cross-life, cross everything, right? If you don't think you're worthy of love, it's very unlikely you'll find someone to love. If you don't think you're worthy of success, it's very likely that you won't find success. If you don't think you'll be good at sales, very likely you won't be good at sales. Everything that you are right now is a result of your mindset. If you look at anything that's going right or wrong in your life, it's deeply tied to how you approach things from a mindset perspective. So having a mindset and confidence within your self-belief is crucial to succeed within sales. Before I sign off, I'd like to share with you a few things I did not mention today. Like I said earlier, I did not mention personality type, and I strongly like to dispel the belief that one has to be extroverted. That's not true. The skills that I mentioned are absolutely people skills. What I forgot to mention, I need to add, and I'm glad you're still listening because this is very important. You have to have very good written and oral skills, right? Oral skills related to your people skills. So are your writing skills. Your writing skills is the ability to communicate with people via written format. Writing skills, reading comprehension skills is very important because when you're writing these emails to clients and candidates, trying to get them to call you back, even text messages, right? Trying to get people to respond to you, you've got to be able to write coherent sentences and spell correctly. People hate it when you can't communicate via text or email. So written abilities obviously are very important. But in addition to saying extroversion, introversion doesn't matter, another two things I want to mention. Education. Does education matter? In high school, I was already a very good writer. I was also on my way to becoming a very good people person. Did I really need 4 years of college to become a good salesperson? I'll tell you exactly no. The answer is absolutely not. I am lucky that my parents paid for my education. If I didn't, God help me. I don't even know how people out there are graduating today with $200,000 debt. I know people who have done that, and I know friends that still have tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. Part of the reason why the dating pool sucks so much is most men I talk to have a ridiculous amount of debt on their shoulders just for going to school, right? That's nuts. That's nuts. Okay. So again, I really think that education today, it's I don't know. It's a real, I don't even know. It's a real scam. I really think it's a scam. But especially for sales, it is a scam. You do not need a degree to become a good salesperson. However, in America, it is very much a classist issue of education, right? If you grew up in a nice, well-to-do family, chances are you're going to go to college. That's more of a reflection of class than capability. That's what I'm seeing in these colleges. Most of the colleges that I know of, that I've gone to, and the people that I know around me who are college educated, they come from a middle to upper class socioeconomic standing as is. Okay, so that's not really capability based. So when people tell me, oh, college people, it's because they worked harder, that's not true. The majority of people I know in college have a very low work tolerance. They do not work hard. They go to class and they go home. That's it, right? They party, they date. They don't really work their butt off compared to someone who grew up in a very impoverished setting who had to work for every single opportunity they get. A college grad is coming out very entitled these days. So education is something, absolutely, I like to dispel that right now. You do not need to be this super smart person that graduated from Ivy League to be good at sales. In fact, there's almost zero correlation. In fact, when you look at the best salespeople, you look at their GPAs, it's usually under 3.3 or 3.4 or above 2.7. It's in that range. You don't really see top headhunters being in the sort of 3 to 9, 3 to 8, right? And the reason is we are not perfectionists. Salespeople cannot be true perfectionists. If they are, they're very few because sales is so exhausting and so unpredictable that if you are a perfectionist, it's very unlikely that you will tolerate and survive in a sales setting. So education, while important, certainly in terms of gathering information and being, educated in the facts of life, which again, college does not teach you. But anyways, education is not that important in terms of succeeding in sales. Self-education is more important. Reading books on your own, learning more in your own time. Self-education is what's more important. Now, let's talk about the last thing that is also not important. Market expertise. People are like, oh, how do you recruit in a very tough market when you don't know what it is? You learn. The answer is you learn. And so when I started recruiting, day one, I had to call clients and I had to call candidates. I was what they call a full desk headhunter, working both sides of the deal. All right. So day one I had no market expertise. Are you kidding me? I graduated from finance and I barely understood that, right? I was doing pharmaceutical recruitment, working with a market called regulatory writing. What is that? I don't know. You find out, you learn on the job. And that's the easy part. All the keywords, you can learn that like gobble, gobble, gobble. Got it, right? It takes you 2 seconds to learn an acronym. These things you just learn, IBs, right? Investigative brochures. You learn these on the job, right? When you learn about clinical CTM, clinical trial manager, how fast does it take to learn that abbreviation, right? 1 second. So again, just the mentality of being able to absorb information and regurgitate it, anyone can do that. So that's why market expertise is the least important thing. Now, I know clients who might disagree with me on that, but I tell you, any good recruiter can recruit for any space. You want me to do oil and gas? It'll take me 1 day to learn the words because I don't have to do your job. I don't also have to explain your job to you. I just have to vet you out and headhunt you and get you interested. That's the key. That's what I'm getting paid to do. That's my job. My job is not to memorize and do your job. That's not my job. I'm not a technical person. I am a recruiter. I'm a headhunter. I'm supposed to know what I'm looking for and know how to vet people. That is my job. So again, market expertise is not required. Now, let's say you are a nurse, you are a technical person, you are an engineer, you are a finance person who is now interested to go into headhunting, right? You know some of the stuff, which is great, but that doesn't entitle you to the same price point that you're getting right now. So if you're a nurse making $90,000, again, you're not going to translate. That $90,000 is not going to translate into a job in recruitment. We're going to start you off again with a lower base because you got to earn your seat at the table. I'm not giving you $90,000 to learn on my dollar. I'm paying you. Right? As an employer, I'm paying you. There's no way I'm going to pay you what your industry pays because that's why you're leaving. You're leaving for certain reasons to get into recruitment because you know what the money you can make here is even in year 1 if you know what you're doing. But you have to significantly learn. Gosh, you have to learn right from the beginning. Just because you know how to do a job doesn't make you a recruiter. I still have to teach you all the systems, protocols, processes, all the science that goes into this job. While it's not rocket science, it's still science. And that science takes time, effort, and energy and cost for employers to teach you. So again, just because you come on in with market expertise, like, oh, I'm a doctor, I can recruit for doctors. Sure, but I have to teach you from all over again. So I'm not going to give you $250K to start because I have a college grad who's making $500,000 from my firm this year, 2 years out of the gate, and I'm paying them on base $50K. See how that works? The competition in recruitment is very high because, again, so many young people are doing so well, so young in life, that just because you come on in with market expertise doesn't make you attractive. It helps you do your job better, maybe, but it doesn't make the employer pay top dollar for you because that's not how it works in this industry. You are actually paid well when you can illustrate to people that you are a top biller. When you don't have a track record of billing and being a salesperson, you don't have that track record. So while you may have some of the skill sets of the market that you're recruiting for, doesn't still make you an attractive candidate where you'll get to keep the same salary. Does that make sense? All right. I went really fast in this episode, so if you need to slow it down, you can do so. But I wanted to get out all the prerequisites that I could possibly think of. And at this point, I've covered them all. So if you have any further questions, continue to shout out to me. But I hope this is a good list for you to get started on to start thinking if this career is right for you.
I hope DG Recruit is helping you understand the realities, challenges, and opportunities when it comes to headhunting and recruitment. Whether you're already a top biller or an aspiring headhunter, I'd love to get to know you. Sign up at donnaglobal.com to stay in touch on all aspects of career coaching and headhunting. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in to DG Recruit. This has been a production of Donna Global.